Welcome to Attenuation, a weekly podcast where two friends come together to drink beer, discuss beer styles and trends, and just generally ruminate on the meaning of life, aka beer. If you enjoy your time with us, we invite you to become a weekly listener and subscribe to the podcast. Without further ado, here is this week's episode.
Hello, and welcome to episode 62 of Attenuation, a beer podcast. My name is Jason, and I'm joined by my best friend since 8th grade, Steven.
Hello.
How's it going today, sir?
It's pretty good.
Are you ready?
I'm very excited about the episode today.
Yeah, I was just about to say, are you ready for an exciting deep dive?
Very excited.
So today...
It's like a double deep dive.
Yeah, actually, you're right. It's a double deep dive. We are doing a double deep dive of Belgian Wit beer and Allagash, the brewery.
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand. Allagash has been very widely recognized as the greatest wit beer creator. So
yeah, they kind of go hand in hand. In my research, they kind of went hand in hand as well. So perfect double topic. But before we get to any of that exciting stuff, we have to do our favorite part of the podcast, which is drinking beer. So the way this works is I introduce my beer, give some nose notes. Steven does the same, and then we cheers and do tasting notes. So I was worried I would be unprepared for this episode, but I opened my beer fridge and I had a wit beer.
Just lucky.
Yeah, just like a random wit beer. I was like, oh wow, I'm such a beer connoisseur. No, it was total random happenstance. But I have Port City from Alexandria, Virginia. Their Optimal Wit.
Contrast that with me. I went to Total Wine today and the grocery store to gather 3 wit beers today.
Oh, you're very prepared.
I know I can find a bunch of those. So.
Oh, I'm excited for your 3-way tasting. I only have one, so. But yeah, it's Belgian style wit beer brewed with spices. So we are going to open this bad boy. So, it's very clear. I was expecting it to be a little hazy. I think the characteristic of a wit beer is usually that it's very pale, it's white beer, right? That's kind of what the name means. And then that sometimes it's a bit hazy, but this is quite clear, but it is very, very, very pale. It's got like a tinge of yellow in it. Not super active head, but it is kind of a gathering around the edges there. Oh, it smells bitter orange, coriander, and then a yeasty note. This is kind of an easy one to do nose notes on because those are the 4 things.
Yeah, for sure.
What beers smell like. But I will give it. So far, it's doing good. It's what you would expect.
It's got all the things. Right?
It's got all the things.
It's just not hazy though.
It's weird. I don't know why. I bet they clarify it or something to make it more marketable. All right, I'll hand it over to you. Your 3.
Sorry, I got a lot to go here. Okay, so the first one is called Blanche de Bruxelles. It is from Belgium. The brewery is Brasserie Lefebvre from Belgium. So this is kind of the true out of my 3. This should be really true Belgian wit, although it's not that popular of a style actually in Belgium. But yeah, so this is the Brussels White. That's what that translates to.
Okay. You're brave with all those foreign words.
Brasserie de Lefebvre. That translates to the February brewery, I think.
Cool.
Okay. And then my second one is called Island Rascal from Avery Brewing. So Avery Brewing is a pretty widely recognized, as a very good iteration of the style. Their classic is called White Rascal. They also have a Little Rascal, which is a session version. And then this is Island Rascal, which is their Belgian style wit with passion fruit added.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that should be a nice little variation. And then the third one is called Zon, Z-O-N. It's from Boulevard Brewing they're in Missouri. Yeah, Kansas City. This is just a straight Belgian wit beer. All 3 super similar. Well, that one is pouring all over my floor. That's nice.
Oh no.
I don't know what's wrong with the can. It's not pouring directly out. Okay. So all three are pretty similar. The Zon from Boulevard is much lighter. So it's the palest of all three. They're all hazy though. So yeah, one's a little, it's by far, it looks almost like, kind of like hazy pear juice. And the other two are a little bit darker. But actually, as I hold them up, like, they're all pretty light. They all have a nice haze, a little bit of a retaining head on them. That's going to be from the wheat. So, all right. So first off, we're going to do the Blanche de Bruxelles, the Brussels white.
Okay.
So on the nose, again, nice orange, and that spicy, yeasty kind of cloves. Nothing too strong there or out of character. Ooh, the Island Rascal smells amazing. I like that passion fruit addition. That's really good. Like, it really complements that clove and coriander spice.
Yeah, I was just imagining the passion fruit flavor seems like it would go really well. So I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, it actually rates higher on Beer Advocate than the White Rascal.
Oh, really?
The Island Rascal. Yeah. Okay, and then the Zon from Boulevard, it only has like an 81 on Beer Advocate, by the way, this Boulevard beer. It's more spice dominant, so you really get a lot of the cloves, but the orange is not very strong. So this one's leaning more towards that like almost banana and clove flavor, like a Hefeweizen. So, all right. Well,
triple cheers to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Cheers to you.
Okay, this is not bad. It only has 85 on Beer Advocate, but I found that the taste is kind of like bready malt crackers, on the entrance, and then you get like sweet banana. It's kind of surprising. But I like it. And then coriander, orange peel, a little clove in the aftertaste. The taste I think is great. I think the mouthfeel is kind of thin, and then it seems a little flat. I don't know like how carbonated these are supposed to be. I know historically some of them were bottle conditioned and stuff like that, but this one feels a little undercarbonated. So I think the flavors are good, but the kind of the carbonation level and the thinness of it kind of brings it down a little bit. But it's very refreshing, I will say that. But that's kind of just a testament to the style. I think the style itself is extremely refreshing.
Yeah.
Thumb sideways, I would say.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think it's not bad, but I wouldn't choose this one if I was going to drink another Belgian wit beer. How was your trio?
Okay, so starting with the Brussels white from Belgium, it's really good. It's thin bodied too, but like the carbonation is good. It's sweeter. It's the sweetest of the three. A real nice sweet orange, and the spice is very subdued in this one. I like it. It would be an easy drinker for sure, and it's enjoyable. I'll do Zon next, the Boulevard one. That one is the worst. It is like yours, thin and undercarbonated. It's too spicy, and the orange is almost imperceivable. I don't know. It's almost like getting into like a weird Saison territory for me, where it just tastes funky and there's nothing really good that I like about it. It's too spicy. So I think and that's one of the things, like I was reading about, the wit beers become kind of an entryway for a lot of people into craft beer, because like Blue Moon, and it's just like an easy drinking style. So anyway, they were like, if you like wit beers, like maybe move into these styles, and Saison was one of them. So I can see how it can kind of like move you towards that direction.
Gotcha.
But yeah, this one I feel, and Boulevard does a lot of Saisons. I think they have, like, their farmhouse ales are very well received and well done. So I think maybe they're pushing that direction just a little bit too much. It's just, I don't know. It's just too spicy for me. And then my favorite is this Island Rascal. It's awesome.
Nice.
Like, I totally get why Avery has won so many awards for their wit beer. It's like perfect. This is really, really good balance of the fruitiness and the spiciness. The passion fruit is just an awesome complement to the orange without, like, it doesn't make it sweet. It just kind of adds a little bit of like a tropical layer to it, but it's still really nice and dry. So I think they did a good job. Like, whatever yeast they use is probably like a high attenuating yeast. I think it really finishes perfectly dry. It's just good. Like, I'm picking more of this up. I'm gonna get a 6-pack of this at least and just have it as my grab and go beer because it really is really good. Like, easy to drink and enjoyable. So
it sounds good, and it's actually the 16th highest rated wit beer on Beer Advocate, which is pretty dang good. So it's very popular, and that's off 1,100 reviews. I want to get my hands on one of these. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, I think you probably can.
I think I've seen Avery about. They're in Colorado.
Yeah, this is the can you'll see.
Oh yes, that Avery A. I've seen that. I can probably get my hands on that if I go to Total Wine. I'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, it's yummy.
Nice. So is that one you're definitely giving a thumbs up? The other two,
I do like the Brussels White too.
Oh, okay.
Actually. It's the Zon though from Boulevard is terrible.
Okay, so 2 thumbs up and a thumbs down.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that was our drinking beer segment. And next we have postscripts and beer news. Postscripts is when we fix mistakes in previous episodes and or sometimes we come back to things from previous episodes. And then beer news is self-explanatory. So we have exciting and interesting beer news this week that ties into some of beer news that we reported on either 1 or 2 episodes ago, I think.
Yeah, we kind of talked about Modern Times a little bit for a few episodes. They were like looking for, they were closing tap rooms and then they were all of a sudden looking for a buyer. And then all of a sudden the court was like forcing a purchase. So anyway, they were actively looking for a buyer, and looks like Maui Brewing out of Hawaii will be purchasing Modern Times.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I'm trying to think if, I'm looking at Maui Brewing and trying to think if I've had some of their beers before. I don't think so.
Yeah, their have you had their coconut porter?
Okay. Yeah, I think I have had that one. Huh, very good. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad they got purchased because it was pretty sad to hear. I don't know. Especially over here in California, you hear a lot about Modern Times and it's kind of all over the place, and they make some really amazing beers that we've had at some festivals. So I'm glad they're going to live on and they're getting bought by... Hopefully they'll preserve kind of what they're making. And I know some of the complaint against Modern Times was people felt like the quality might have been going down a little bit, or hopefully they can rectify those problems.
Save that a little bit.
Yeah. Huh,
yeah, and cool. It doesn't sound like they're going to mess with it too much. So
yeah, I think people have learned that lesson. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that lesson was learned. Was it $1 billion?
Schlitz?
Oh, Schlitz taught us that lesson. But I think also a lesson was learned of, hey, if you're going to buy a craft brewery, don't mess with it too much when it was $1 billion purchase of...
Oh, Ballast Point.
Ballast Point, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they got in the kitchen. And you don't want investors in the kitchen.
Yeah. And luckily this is a craft brewery buying another craft brewery, so it's not like a big conglomerate coming in.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. We'll keep our eyes on that and see how that develops.
Apparently, Maui's had a really good year so far. Like they're doing really good. So, like, this is not a difficult buy for them. They were well positioned for this. So, anyway.
Okay,
props
perfect.
To Maui Brewing, killing it. We do have a postscript.
Okay, good.
We talked about becoming Cicerone last week, and one of the things that I didn't fully get good information on was how many Cicerones there are. I did do a little bit of research. It's still sometimes the numbers are, I don't know, it's just hard to get accurate or super recent numbers, but it looks like there's not more than maybe 20 Master Cicerones in the world.
Wow.
And no one has ever passed it on the Master Cicerone test on the first try.
Insane. And that's the one you got to fly out to Chicago once a year?
Yeah.
All right,
so
Steven.
No one has passed it on the first try.
You gotta be the first Master Cicerone to pass it on the first try. It sounds like a Star Wars thing. They're like, well, we recognize you on the council, but we do not give you the rank of Master. You have to come back.
In the test, in that 2-day test, there's a guy named Randy Mosher. He's written multiple books on brewing, and any passionate home brewer has probably read a book from Randy Mosher. He is there grilling you.
Obviously it's such a lofty goal, but man, it's almost cool just to go do the test and get to interact with those people.
And just be like, I'm terrible.
Just get roasted.
That's great.
That's awesome. All right.
But yeah, so very few.
Okay.
And like you said, there are probably people taking this test every year in Chicago, but not passing it. So
that's nuts. So are you still
not
gonna
necessarily even every year they're gonna add any?
True. Yeah, they might. No one passes it that year. It stays at 20. Do you think how are your aspirations for level 2?
They're good. Like I think I am gonna do it eventually.
Yeah. All right. I think we should do it together. I'll start studying. Let's give ourselves 2 years though.
Yeah, we're gonna need some time.
Yeah. No rush, but it would be really cool if we both got our level 2.
Yeah, that would be cool. Have you ever heard of a master baker?
No.
Like a certified master pastry chef? Yeah, there's only apparently 11 of those in the world.
Oh my goodness.
And you have that Timothy's Bakery downtown. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, Timothy was one of them. He's one of the master bakers.
So I have one of the only master bakers very close to me?
Yeah.
Huh. That's amazing.
Timothy's Bakery in Woodland.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now online. That is nuts. It looks like he makes wedding cakes and stuff. All right, I'll look into that more.
Even more exclusive than the Master Cicerone.
And one lives right in my hometown. Incredible. Small world. All right, I'm going to look at this later. Apparently he makes extremely good champagne cake. Have to take advantage of his expertise. All right, are you ready to jump into the main topic?
I am.
So I think we'll start. I'm going to tackle the history, and then I think you're going to tackle Allagash. So I'll start us, but I want to prep you, Stephen.
Okay.
There is going to be 4 elements present in this story that they're a reoccurring theme in all of our deep dives.
Okay.
So I'm going to
4 elements to the history of the Belgian wit beer. Is that what you're saying?
Well, these 4 elements are common across all of our deep dives. Do you think you can guess all 4 of them?
Probably. Prohibition.
Oh, I actually didn't count that one, but it should probably go on the list. Maybe maybe there's 5. I'll add prohibition. Okay. Do you want to guess some other ones?
Geographically, I don't know. Is there a geographical component to it?
I did not put that on the list.
Oh my gosh. Did it burn down?
Yes. Fire is on the list.
Oh, fire. Okay. That's cool. Fire. A style being saved by one person.
I wrote style is carried or revived by a single individual. Yes, that's going to be present in today's story.
All right.
And then the other 2 are war.
Okay.
And tax evasion.
Ah, yes, the tax loopholes. That's right.
Yeah, so I think we should add prohibition because that I think affects almost every beer style. But I think I am willing to
prohibition, probably mix that in with the war. Is that?
Yeah, war prohibition. And then maybe we do one for geographical. But I think if we went back and visited all of our deep dives, and I think based on the pattern we've seen, all of our future deep dives will have war, prohibition, fire, tax evasion, and the style being carried on or revived by a single individual in every single one. So, yeah. So to start the story, I'm going to start right in the middle, but wit beer did almost die. So in 1957, I think it's called Thomson, the last of the wit beer breweries, shut down. And then it was basically not being brewed again until 1966. There's an individual, Pierre Celis, who was a milkman in the interterm period, but he had worked at Thomson. And he decided, you know what? I'm going to revive the style in 1966. So pretty crazy that it was, if he didn't decide to do that, it might not exist.
Yeah, it's Austin, Texas brewery, Celis.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get there. Yeah, he
down the street.
He eventually moves to your home state, but not yet. First, he's gonna start in.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't realize he didn't start in Austin.
Oh, he does. I don't think he does.
Okay.
So to travel a little bit back, wit beer is also known as white beer, and it gets that name because there's the use of unmalted wheat, and then also barley and oats, and that gives it a hazy white color. And then it is spiced. Now, historically, it wasn't always used, but coriander is used modernly and citrus and other spices. So it's kind of interesting, the transition from the historical style to the modern style actually saw a change in the way it's manufactured. And some of those spice additions were actually to like mimic some of the things that were lost, which is crazy. Because the old style, they all used coolships. Because it was just the Belgian style. A lot of the Belgian styles, they just used coolships, which are those big, basically high surface area tanks that you get wild yeast and bacteria for fermentation. So it's funny that it's not popular anymore, really. But like, I mean, some of the craft breweries have it. Like Russian River has their giant coolship, which is really awesome. But yeah, that kind of got displaced by just adding yeast. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So they used to use that wild spontaneous fermentation, and then they don't really do that anymore. And then it kind of varied in Hoegaarden. That's kind of considered like the birthplace of wheat beer. They would actually use a mixture of spontaneously fermented and boiled wort. That was just kind of the style they used. But they didn't really add yeast, which is interesting. So the flavor was a bit different. You would get, because basically what they're doing is they also made lambics this way, but they would age them. But wit beer was always served like fresh. Like that was part of the thing, is like you drink it fresh. Okay. And so it kind of got referred to as a green lambic. So it's like a lambic sans aging. So they're not really giving them, so they're not really giving the microorganisms time to like do the full work like that they would in a lambic, but it still gives it like some lactic tartness, which I thought was super interesting. So this is like the point here.
Sometimes when I think of when I think of a wit beer, it almost is like a not sour goza to me. Like I think it's a style that if you just soured the beer, it would like just immediately just be a perfect sour beer. Like it's good, not sour. Like it's perfect. Like it's, I like the wit beer style, not sour. But if you just soured that beer, it'd be like also really good.
Well, it's funny you say that because I got a lot of this data from one of my favorite books it's the Beer Bible. But at this point in the story that I was reading, I was kind of speculating, like, I wonder what it would be like if you got like Russian River to do a wit beer in their coolship and they let it naturally ferment and it was like sour. I think that would be so amazing. And then at the end of his entry on the topic, he also speculated that we might see, and maybe there's one that exists, but I haven't heard of it, but we might see maybe there will be a craft brewery that would do a natural, spontaneous version of a wit beer and let it be sour, which would be awesome. Okay, so now I want to get back to Pierre, a living legend and hero who individually strapped the wit beer style onto his back and carried it into the future. So in the mid-1960s, he starts a brewery called Hoegaarden, and he is not in the U.S. at this point. So I believe he's in the town of Hoegaarden. And then this is where he also modernizes the style by, instead of using coolships, he just decides, you know what, we're not going to deal with all that. We're just going to add yeast. And then for Christmas and because you kind of lose the tang, the little bit of lactic tang and some of the crispness, he adds bitter oranges and coriander. And then he also bottle conditions it. So it's kind of like a little bit of a hack. Like he changed the way it was made to make it, I think, easier to produce, but then he still wanted it to kind of taste like how it used to taste. And then what's interesting is that, it's crazy, right? So in the 1970s, he then changes the name to, I'm going to not pronounce this right, but De Kloos. And this is like a common marketing ploy in Belgium at the time. And it's funny because it relates back to one of our other deep dives where we talked about the Abbey style. So we have to put a little mark of shame on Pierre because he's trying to associate his brand with the monastery to make it more popular, despite the fact that it has no ties to monks. And this is you gotta do what you gotta do. Well, he does, and it's wildly successful. It like massively increases his popularity of the beer. But so it does work. That's why people were doing it. But then a fire guts the brewery. So
there's the fire.
Yep, there's the fire. So now we've had almost everything. I guess I didn't mention the part of the reason the style died was because of World War One and Two. So there's your war. So the only thing I think we have left is tax evasion, which we're going to get to. So he actually is...
I mean, we can basically say that every style basically died. Well, in America, for sure, with the world wars, and they were just drinking. The only thing that came out on the other side of that was crappy.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
lagers.
Yeah, so that's kind of guaranteed to happen. So...
Yeah, I don't know why that was... Why did that happen? Just Americans forgot what good beer tasted like.
I guess... we should maybe postscript this, but I do think there was kind of like, in like the 50s and 60s, there was kind of like an obsession with like modern marvels and like TV dinners and stuff like that. And I wonder if there was like that had something to do with like, I don't know. This
sort
is
of a blandness.
Yeah, it was like marked by its blandness, but everyone was like excited about the new and the wonderful. So maybe that's something we could research. Okay, so his brewery burns down, and then he's like, you know what, I kind of don't want to restart this whole thing. So he sells a majority share to Stella Artois, which you should be familiar with.
Yeah.
They have a very popular beer by that name, Stella, and now they will go on to be acquired by Anheuser-Busch InBev, and who actually also produces Hoegaarden, which is a reference back to the town of Hoegaarden.
Okay.
So not only does he kind of keep it alive, but he gets Anheuser-Busch to start making it. Unfortunately, it's funny because Hoegaarden, I used to drink that often in my early beer days, and I always thought it was like this really cool imported fancy beer, but I didn't know it was just Budweiser. But anyways, Michael Jackson was critical of it. He said, rather than having a fruity sourness, it's more of a honey sweetness in Hoegaarden. So apparently I wasn't drinking a fancy foreign beer after all. I was just drinking a commercialized product. So now he decides to start over, and he moves to Texas and starts his brewery there. So he's credited with not only is he credited with saving wit beer, he also helped bring wit beer to America. And this action would ultimately, I think, I didn't study this, but I think he will go on to influence the founder of Allagash by this move.
Yeah.
And he will also inspire Coors to create Blue Moon. So he simultaneously spawned an amazing craft brewery and introduced wit beer to Coors and Anheuser-Busch. So
the macro drinkers, man.
Yeah, he's
to the macro drinkers.
Very influential. So
yeah.
So actually Blue Moon is not popular for a very long time, but in the early 2000s, its popularity starts to like radically increase, and Anheuser-Busch actually responds and makes it another wit beer called Shock Top. Yep, that's how you got Blue Moon and Shock Top. And then now to get you to tax evasion and start to wrap up my part of the story. So the reason they originally used unmalted wheat, it wasn't really a stylistic choice at all. It was because they didn't have to pay as much taxes on it if they made it with unmalted wheat. And then obviously it just became tradition, right? Like once you start making something away and then you like it, you're not going to stop even if like the tax laws change.
Yeah, they never end up being stylistic choices. They end up being like practical choices that like then dictate how that beer is made forever.
Exactly. They're like practical choices that become the style, and then they just become the culture of the beer. So this is hilarious, by the way. So I'm going to tie this to the future. So you're going to cover Allagash, but I do want to briefly mention Nest White Ale is brewed by Kuchi Sake. So they have been around since 1823, but they didn't begin brewing beer until 1996. And the funny thing is, they also decided to brew a wit beer to avoid taxes. So here you go, hundreds of years later, in 1996, okay. Japan is trying to encourage beer production, and they said if you can make a beer that uses 50% adjuncts, you will not pay as much taxes on it. So they decided to use So they decided to use unmalted barley and unmalted wheat because those don't count. Those count as adjuncts. And they start making that Nest White Ale. And you've probably seen it. It has like the owl on it. I've never tried it. But if I show you the bottle, I think you would recognize it. And so their style tastes a little bit different. It's like thicker because they're using both of those unmalted grains. And they also spice it with nutmeg and orange juice, which I thought was really interesting. So I really want to get my hands on one of them. It's just so funny. I don't know if you ever saw Battlestar Galactica. But
no.
Okay, but there's a saying in there that they say all this has happened before and all of this will happen again. And it's just, I immediately thought of that when like Japan first started making beer. They picked a tax avoidance path.
We got that 2 times in the story.
Yeah, exactly. And so they were like, oh, what beer are we going to make? Oh, you don't have to pay taxes if we make a wit beer. Let's do that. So a beer that was inspired by tax evasion propagated itself into the future in Japan under the motivation of tax evasion.
That's awesome.
Yes, so that is basically the history of the wit beer. And I think your story ties in because I believe, I think Pierre inspired Allagash because he brought wit beer to America.
It's like the perfect transition. So Rob Todd is his name. He in 1995 was previously working at Otter Creek Brewing in Vermont, and he fell in love with Celis White, and he wanted to brew that same beer. In 1995, he opened his own brewery in a small warehouse and called it Allagash Brewing Company. It was just him. Like, it was a brewery and 1 employee.
Wow, that's crazy.
He welded together his own 15-barrel welding system, brew system, and he brewed 1 beer. He brewed a Belgian Wit and called it Allagash White.
Wow. Single
1
man,
brewery,
single style.
1 employee,
yeah.
1 beer. Yeah. And so a couple things with Allagash White. So he brewed it with coriander and Curacao orange peel. So Curacao oranges, they're also called Lahara oranges. These were oranges that were planted in the island of Curacao by the Spaniards when they arrived there. And because of the soil and the lack of nutrients in the soil there, the plant kind of changed a little bit and adapted. And the fruit ended up becoming essentially inedible and bitter. But the peel was super aromatic. So the peel of the Curacao orange is used in Curacao liquors and used for beer aromatics and flavors. So a lot of really good wit beers use these Curacao orange peels in their brew process. So he used coriander and Curacao orange peel. He used a highly attenuative yeast strain to create like a really crisp, dry finish. And that was the beer he made, the beer he loved. It was, slow to catch on. Like we said, it took Blue Moon a while to catch on with the American public. But once it did, I think, like I was saying earlier, that it was a huge entryway for people into craft beer. I mean, I think I could almost say Blue Moon was an entryway for me into craft beer.
Oh, definitely. I think a lot of people, I remember early in my drinking days, I thought Blue Moon was so cool because a lot of people would get it and then you would get a slice of orange and you squeeze the orange into it. And that was fun. Yeah. That's a fun part of the ritual drinking of Blue Moon. And it tasted really good, especially if you put the orange in there. So yeah, no, 100%. It's a gateway.
Yeah. At the time it seemed like fancy beer, which is kind of crazy, but I think it was in a way.
No, I think it was.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely this is a completely different style of beer. So anyway, it kind of was slow to catch on, but it really started to become popular in America in 1998. That was the first year that Allagash White won an award. They won gold at the World Beer Cup in the Belgian Wit category. Just a year later, they brought on a guy named Jason Perkins as head brewer. He went on to really define Allagash and their brewing techniques, almost as important as Rob Todd, honestly, at this point. So he came on as head brewer in 2002 Allagash White won gold at the Great American Beer Festival, and it really started to like put them on the map. In 2004, they started to. Jason Perkins really wanted to like more into the wild ale, wild fermented stuff. So in 2004, they created. Well, 2005 they went into wild ales. I'll back up a little bit. 2004, they created another Belgian ale called Curio, which means curious in French. It's a Belgian triple. We talked about that in the Abbey Ale episode. It's a kind of a higher ABV golden ale, Belgian style.
Yeah.
Trappist beer. So Curio was created. That became a very, very, very successful beer for them. In 2005, they started to really dabble into the wild ale stuff. They created a beer called Interlude, which has won multiple awards. It's a wild fermented, kind of a mixed culture fermentation ale. And then, that was like sort of their start into the wild fermentation. But in 2007, that was kind of where the huge change came. Rob Todd went on a trip to Belgium. His company on this trip was almost stupid. Like,
wait, what do you mean?
He went on this trip with Sam Galagione from Dogfish Head.
Okay.
Adam Avery from Avery Brewing. Tommy Arthur from Lost Abbey Brewing. Vinny Salurzo from Russian River Brewing.
Oh, wow.
And they took this trip to Belgium together. This group of brewery owners.
Could you imagine how fun that would be? Oh my goodness.
I just want to. I don't even want to be there. I want to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I don't even know how those conversations go, but they.
I want to listen to them. Yeah.
Yeah, I guarantee they would be fascinating. So, on this trip to Belgium with this like amazing group of people, all these guys were introduced to this cool ship idea and fermenting stuff overnight, and they were unsure whether that could even translate. It could even be done. If those beers would turn out okay, or if it could be done. And some of the brewers at the Belgian breweries they visited were like, sure,
yeah,
of course you can do it. You know, I mean, if you do it at this time of year with these temperatures at night, yeah, I think it will work. And so he went back to Allagash and they started their Cool Ship program. They started brewing a beer they aged for 3 years, did different mixes, and created a beer called Resurgam, which is a huge line for them. It's their so they have their Cool Ship line. They have Resurgam Red, which I think is a creek or something like that. Anyway, they have this huge wild ale series now that they wild ferment in a Cool Ship overnight.
Wait, have they done a wit beer in a Cool Ship?
I don't think so.
They gotta do it. They have all the equipment.
No, they just keep doing their wit beer the way they do.
We gotta email them.
They're not messing with Allagash White, bro.
I want a traditional Allagash. I want a traditional wit beer done in a Cool Ship. They can call it like Allagash historical or something. I don't know. We'll work out the tagline later, but it needs to be done.
Okay, and maybe they have. I don't know.
Yeah,
that could be something we look into. But after that, I mean, 2010 through 2013 was really just a lot of expansion for them. Expansion of their brew space, expansion of their tap rooms, their bottling and kegging lines, and their brew system. Just a lot of expansion and improvement on all of that. This side story is awesome. In 2004, in Belgium, there was there was legislation that was going to pass that would essentially make these beers illegal. These like lambics and gooses illegal because of their wild fermentation.
Oh.
I don't know whether there was like health concerns or something, but anyway, they were going to pass legislation that would make wild fermentation beers illegal. And so there was this like huge protest, and basically this multiple day long protest of people just like gathered at, I don't know, like Parliament building or something like that, and they were just all drinking these lambics.
That's a great protest.
Yeah, and essentially like they were able to convince the legislators not to move forward with this bill, and they like saved lambics that night. And so they now have a festival every 2 years called the Night of the Great Thirst.
Okay.
And it's a lambic festival celebrating that night, that protest where they saved the lambics.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Now, I want to go to this festival now, by the way.
Yeah. Add it to the list.
To my beer bucket list.
Yeah.
And it's really cool too because you don't buy, like when you're at the beer festival, like you can't like just, there's no like tasters or glasses, like you just buy bottles. So you're just buying bottles of lambics, and then you're just like walking around like sharing them with people.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Like, buying bottles, sharing with people, and you just meet new people and make new friends, and just by sharing your bottles of lambics. So it's really cool.
I like that concept. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was in 2004, and then they started doing the festival in even years. So 6, 8, 2010. 2010. They actually invited Allagash to come and bring their Rascal coolship beers. They were the only American brewery in the festival, and they were the only American brewery in the festival for the next like 4 festivals. I think they may, because I think 2020 was canceled because of the pandemic. So I think they're the only American brewery that's ever been at this festival. I don't know about the 20.
That's pretty epic.
Yeah, it's awesome. I don't know about the 2022, but yeah, they have been exclusively the only American brewery at the Night of the Great Thirst Lambic Festival. So it's pretty cool, pretty awesome, like honor for them. And yeah, I really want to go to that festival.
When is it? What time of year?
It's in August in even years. Yeah, and then actually in Maine now, where Allagash is. They have one on the odd years now called the same name, Night of the Great Thirst.
Okay.
In Portland, Maine. I don't know if it's Allagash organized the event or what, but anyway, they certainly attend, and it's all American breweries doing basically the same thing in the odd year. So it's always August. So in the odd years, it's in Maine, and then the even years are the official ones in Belgium. So.
Okay, and that's super cool.
Yeah, so even attending the one in Maine, I think would be cool too.
A little bit easier too.
But there is a way we could get to Belgium.
Okay.
With Allagash. So in 2011, I believe, Rob Todd, realizing how important his trips to Belgium had been over the years, he decided that every employee at Allagash who stays for 5 years in their 5th year anniversary year, they would get to go on this trip called Allagash, which was a trip to Belgium.
Ooh.
So they take every employee, spend there for 5 years on a trip to Belgium to all these amazing Belgian breweries.
So you're gonna go work there for 5 years?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking.
That sounds like a really good place to work. That's like such a cool commitment to their staff, and that would be such a fun trip to go on. Do you have to be full time, or can you go work on the weekends?
I don't know the specifics, but it's really cool. And I guess they have a whole blog on the internet, like the Allagash blog. So every year you see like writings and videos and images from these Allagash employees making this trip to Belgium. Yeah, just what a cool perk.
Yeah, I love that. Well, it's cool too because it's like if you've been there that long, you're obviously committed to the company, and they're giving you like a tie to the roots of the style.
Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, exactly. Like it's such a huge part of what they do at Allagash, brewing these Belgian styles. That like, it's just a great education for anybody who works at the brewery to understand why they do what they do. So really cool, and like they win like every year. They win best place to work.
Oh, really?
And that kind of thing. Yeah,
that's super cool.
So they've always been very committed to their employees. So some of the other things in 2016, Jason Perkins won the Russell Schnurr Award. I think I can't remember the last name, but it's a Brewery Award, recognizing accomplished brewers. So Jason Perkins won that award in 2016. In 2019, Rob Todd won the James Beard Award, which is an award for outstanding contributions to the world of beer, wine, and spirits. He's only one of 3 beer brewers to ever win the award. So Rob Todd, Garrett Oliver in 2014 from Brooklyn Brewery, and Sam Belagione from Dogfish Head in 2017 won the award. So 2014, 2017, 2019 are the only 3 beer brewers to ever win the award. Usually it's a lot of wine and spirits. Is a huge category.
It's so cool to win like a multi-category thing like that.
Yeah. What's interesting is so Rob Todd, he actually was a finalist multiple years prior, just didn't win.
Okay.
Or he was a nominee multiple years, finalist a couple years. Vinny Salurza from Russian River, he's been a finalist I think a couple years, but never won. So it's a very cool honor. But he won that in 2019. Other than that, the awards list is ridiculous for Allagash. Specifically Allagash White, but Allagash in general. Allagash White, over its history, the Great American Beer Festival, they won Great American Beer Festival awards in 98, 02, 05, 2010, 2015, 2018, 2020, and 21. That's Allagash White being either gold, silver, or bronze all of those years, which is really impressive for a beer that's been around that long.
Yeah, it's a very well-regarded and highly lauded example of that style.
I don't know if the listener, if you're not familiar with these beer awards, I think that level of consistency, even though there's years where they didn't medal at all, I just think that the level of consistency to win the award that many times, to be, well, usually they win gold, but there were a couple times where it was silver or bronze, but that level of consistency over 25 years in making a certain beer, it is really impressive.
Absolutely.
I don't really think you see that very often in any other beer. So
yeah, no, I think I agree.
So they won European beer awards. There's a award called the European Star. Anyway, they won that. They won many World Beer Cup awards. Like we talked about last week, they won the bronze this year in the World Beer Cup.
Right. But there was
not a gold and silver. Yeah.
So technically, in my book, they won the gold because they were the highest ranked.
They were the highest rated.
Yeah.
Wit beer in the competition. Yeah. So anyway, just tons of accolades. They've also had tons of accolades for their Belgian triple, which won an award at the Great American Beer Festival in 06, 09, 2015, 2016, and then 2021 again. 2021 was a great year for them, actually. They got silver in both with the Witweer and the Belgian Abbey style. They also won Brewery of the Year in their Great American Beer Festival gives out a Brewery of the Year award for breweries in different categories based on size, like production of beer. But in their size of brewery, they won Brewery of the Year. So they had a good year this last 2021. Resurgam, the Cool Ship beer, has also won multiple awards at the beer festival. So anyway, just highly decorated brewery, and a brewery that's again almost founded on this kind of weird basic wit beer style that has now also excelled in multiple different styles, but all started with the wit beer.
And all thanks to good old Pierre, who saved it from extinction.
Yeah. I was kind of sad. I was staring at a 6-pack of Cellus White today because obviously it's from Austin. I can get it anytime.
Oh.
But I just couldn't bring myself to buy a 6-pack of it.
Yeah, that's a lot.
For the episode tonight. I mean, I feel bad that I didn't bring that.
It's a piece of history. It's a piece of history.
I know.
Well, you have to get one. See if you can single it out somewhere.
Yeah, if I can get it singled out at the grocery store, then maybe I'll do that so I don't have to buy a whole 6-pack. But yeah, definitely a beer I can get very, very easily. And an important part of the whole history. Brought back the style. Saved the style.
Yep. He
single-handedly
carried on or revived the style. It's one of our common elements of deep dives. Seems to happen in every single one. It's really funny. So yeah, Allagash, very, very cool. Now, I don't think you mentioned this. Have you been to the actual brewery?
No.
It really makes me want to go there.
Yeah, they're right up in Portland, Maine. So
yeah, it'd be quite a trek. I wonder if he still has that the original thing that he. You said he created his by hand.
Oh, that he like welded.
Yeah. I wonder if that's still there as like a historical piece of the company.
Maybe. I know they moved into like a bigger brew space, but like just next door. So it's possible that they just like kept that smaller area just as a like, you know, kind of a museum to the beginning of Allagash.
Yeah, it might be gone, but that would be cool if they had kept it or kept some sort of, you know, record of it. Yeah, it said he welded together.
Yeah, most likely it's gone.
Yeah. 15-barrel brewer system. And jackhammer drains into the floor. Amazing.
Yeah. Which is kind of weird because it's like a rented space, so...
Yeah, maybe don't jackhammer into the floor. Come on. Come on, Rob.
Yeah. Is that legal?
You're not being a good tenant.
No. Jackhammering into the floor does not sound like a good tenant.
It doesn't sound like it would be allowed in the terms of the lease.
Oh, that's great.
That's really awesome. Okay, well, do we have anything else to say about Allagash and or wit beer?
No, but next time you see the wit beer in the store, pick it up.
I know, as always. Well, luckily we both had one today. Otherwise, this episode would have made me want to drink one really, really, really bad. But
yeah,
as always happens, I feel like I have a new
appreciation for the style.
Yes.
But yeah, if you see that Avery one, pick it up. Anything from Avery. Because that was really good. The Island Rascal is fantastic.
Oh, definitely. I'll have my eye out for that Island Rascal. That sounds so good. And just drinking this Optimal Wit, I was thinking about a passion fruit flavor. And it just seems like it goes like so naturally into the whole flavor profile.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. And I really, really like this. It's actually almost becoming my favorite of these three is this one from Belgium. The Brussels White. It's really good. It's almost, and maybe I like it because it's just a tinge sweeter.
Okay.
But it's very, very good. The Boulevard, just avoid at all costs.
Okay, no Boulevard.
It's kind of nice. I almost like, in a way, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this like side by side tasting. Are they even going to taste different, right? Like, what am I? It's just one of those styles that seems like you're just going to get orange, coriander, and a little bit of wheat, you know? Like, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a wide range of taste in the beer, but that's actually one of the benefits of side-by-side tastings is you realize, like, oh, there's things about this one I like more than this one, and there's infinite possibilities in how they balance and how you perceive the tastes and that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Even if they only have like 5 or 6 dials, you can still turn them one way or another and get really interesting and somewhat unique outcomes.
Tons of yeast possibilities you can use. There's so many things. So.
There is something I wanted to add that I forgot to cover in the history you just reminded me of. So it's funny because this style has gotten so popular on a global level, but it's actually not very popular anymore in its original place. Apparently there's only a few breweries there that still make it, and yeah, it kind of spread to the world and people love it, but not as popular as from where it came, which is kind of funny. Kind of tragic in a way too.
Yeah, just Brasserie de Lefebvre. They're the only ones making it.
Yeah. But everyone else in the world is making it, including Coors and Budweiser.
And Japan.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. This is kind of a cool story.
Yeah, it is very interesting. Yeah, I did read that too. It's not a popular Belgian style in Belgium.
Yeah, but its future is safely secured when you're being made by like the 2 biggest macro companies.
Yeah, for sure. It's not going away.
All right, cool. Well, should we call that an episode?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so this has been episode 62. This is Attenuation, a beer podcast. You can reach out to us on Instagram at attenuation.podcast, and you can also reach us up by email at contact@attenuation@gmail.com. Like I said, this is episode 62, and my name is Jason, and I'm joined by my best friend since 8th grade, Steven.
That is me.
All right. We are saying cheers, and we will see you next week for episode 63.
All right. Cheers, buddy.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Attenuation, a beer podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Instagram or Facebook for more fun content. Catch you next week. Cheers!